Well, Antonio Conte was critical of a number of his players following the defeat at Leicester, and we'll talk about that in a moment. First of all, Stephen, I want to come to you because I think you identified two very specific reasons why Tottenham have been so inconsistent recently. And what are they?
Well, players, Bentancur, him not being involved in the team, I think is massive for them. I think a lot of people that don't watch Spurs on a regular basis probably got to see him in the World Cup and how influential he is for Uruguay. He's a fantastic footballer, and they've lost him now in the game against City. He's going to be an ACL injury, so he's going to be out for 6 months. Højbjerg, the other midfielder, again, massively important for them, and he's out now. He was suspended for the game today. So when you lose those two really important cogs for the middle of the pitch, when they play with a three at the back and you only play with two midfielders, so many teams play with three in there and they get overrun. But if you have two players that can actually be that wheel and still complement each other, but those two out of side, it makes a huge difference. And then you're looking at the lack of goals in the forward days, not from Harry Kane, who's having another fantastic season, but it's Heung-min Son. His form has dropped off so much in comparison to what he was last season. The teamer, it's disjointed because he's not chipping in with the goals. Kulusevski's missed a lot of games as well, so personnel missing, drop in form, all comes together to Tottenham being inconsistent. And you would have felt the win against City would have been a great chance for them to kick on. Huge game for them to win and be looking back towards Champions League finishing. But now you kind of think finishing as high in this competition as they possibly can, but you would think getting back in the Champions League is almost more important.
Do you think there was anything they could have done, or a player they could have signed during the recent transfer window to allow for the absentees that you've mentioned?
Well, it's funny enough, Bentancur's come after the window, so that's a difficult one. You can't legislate for players. He was missing throughout since the World Cup. He had a little niggly injury, but nothing that was going to be long term.
Yeah.
But when you think of who's come in instead of him, they signed Basuma in the summer. He looked like a player that was going to come in and really, really explode. Was excellent at Brighton, but just hasn't hit the ground running. And then today it was Skip and Sarr, who, listen, they're adequate players, but you're talking Champions League. If you want to compete at this level against the best teams, you have to have a midfield that can actually compete, and I just don't think they're up to par.
OK, and Dyer suspended for the second leg, so that's another blow for them. But they're still very much in the tie. Kevin at 1-0 down. As far as Antonio Conte is concerned, acclaimed for so long over the last 12 months, and all of a sudden Spurs a little bit inconsistent and there are those who are questioning his managerial capabilities. I mean, he was the most sought after for quite some time, but I mean, surely he's still the man for the job, isn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't look the most enthused, to be honest with you.
Well,
I know he's not well, but just his interview during the week, and he's talking about, I don't know if these players have basically the guts for winning games. No consistency. But he has been in charge for a good while. He's gone through a few transfer windows. They're becoming his players now. It's up to him. He's the manager. If he doesn't think he has the players, or they won't let him sign the players, he probably should walk away from it. If he's that good a manager and so many clubs want him, and he's not happy in the place, well then he'll soon find another job. But in relation to tonight's game, I don't think that's a bad result. Listen, AC Milan aren't going through a good patch either. They're very similar in where they are in the league in their form this season. I think Spurs will be pretty happy. We haven't seen the game really. We've seen the highlights just there now like everyone else, but it looked like Spurs went there and sat back and tried to soak up as much as they could and keep it to a reasonable scoreline, maybe lose 1-0 and getting back to the home ground and try get a win there.
Yeah, it went behind very early, Stephen, the goal coming after just 7 minutes of the tie at the San Siro.
Yeah, it's fair. Foster's coming in again, another player, Hugo Lloris, who's not been the most consistent himself this season, but this goal here against Romero, you'd expect your centre back and someone dominant like him to win it, but then Hernandez gets a great shot away, and then Foster pulls off two really good saves. This is the chance. Now Hernandez does him really hard, but that's your centre back, your dominant centre back. You think get up, win that, misses the challenge. Hernandez, great strike. Foster, good save. Second reactive save is brilliant, but he just can't get back up for the third one. I think it's Diaz comes in. To be fair, flying dive and header, great commitment to get that over the line. It shows what they want to be in there. Milan are a huge club.
Two with great commitment. Hernandez with that header, brilliant. You love to see him going up. He shouldn't be winning that. He should be, the one on the ground underneath the centre half. He gets above him. Great header, makes the goal. And then Diaz twice, to be sharper, to react. Again, throw his body on the line to score the goal, shows what it means to him.
Yeah, and with the home leg to come, I mean, 1-0 isn't an insurmountable lead as far as Tottenham are concerned. I mean, they can overhaul that, because it could have been a little bit worse, because Milan had a couple of late chances where they came close.
Yeah, it looked like they had a couple of half-decent chances. Spurs, on the other hand, they had one offside, I think, was it Son and Harry Kane, that was one. I suppose they'll think they're unlucky here. AC Milan should have done better with the header, but he's going wide anyway. Again, look how many people Spurs have back camped in the box. They don't have the pace then to break Spurs, in fairness, when they try counter-attack from away from home. So, they're just hoping to keep the score down. Again, I think that's a bad miss.
It is, yeah. I think both of these headers would be disappointed they haven't hit the target, won't they, from that close range?
Easy header from 5 yards. Keeper maybe's put him off a little bit. But, they'll be disappointed they haven't taken those. Spurs probably should have lost the game more. Again, we're only seeing those clips.
Yeah.
It didn't look from what we've seen, Spurs created anything of note during the 90 minutes.
But where are their priorities going to lie now, Stephen, for the rest of the season? Because there's every possibility they could end up in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. That could spur them on to even greater things in their European competition. But surely they've got to try and finish in the top 4 in the Premier League.
I would say if they could walk away from the tournament now and guarantee themselves getting Champions League exits, they would, but that's not how it works. So they have to try and compete as much as they have, and they have to give the fans something to sing about. Listen, they've been way too inconsistent. They started the season off quite well.
Yeah.
We're resilient, we're conceding too many goals, we're top for a little bit, to be honest. But I think just the form of certain players has dropped off, and for them, if they can go back to their home ground, get some players back into the team, Højbjerg be back, that'll be a huge plus for them. Get Richarlison, hopefully get a game into him between now and then, get him fit. Son, try and get some sort of form back into him. They go into the game only 1-0 down, they have a chance. But realistically, top 4 finish is where they have to be aiming for if they want to progress as a club and they want to keep players.
Even you think they're not having a great season, they're just as I said, the top 4, but they got Liverpool and Chelsea behind them. They've been given a golden opportunity to get back into the top 4 this season. It couldn't be any better for them. You'd think before, and if Liverpool are below you, Chelsea below you, you're in the top 4. But they're obviously not having. They're not having a good season.
No, but it's far from over for Tottenham just yet. And as I said, the quarterfinals of the Champions League still very much within their grasp.